I've always been. Who can afford to not be?
Wow! I clicked a button. Sorry, guys. We went did that prematurely, where I just skipped forward about 19 seconds in time.
And we.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. We had a little gag reel in the beginning.
Your intro is so cool.
I stole it from Canva, and I hope Otis or whoever that guy is that I'm, eventually paying money to, gets that money. Welcome back to Sunday Snake Chat. We're doing something new tonight. First of all, we have our first woman on. I mean, that's a
really. Well,
yes.
I'm honored.
Yes, we have our first woman. That's not Keisha from Terrence and Keisha Keys. So it's our first actual woman being on here as a special guest. That's awesome, and it's one of our first people that doesn't deal with snakes.
Yep, no snakes for me.
So I mean, this is going to be interesting. But Kirsten is a friend. We've known each other for about a year or so, and we have some common history with stuff we've dealt with. So
yeah, both of our moms had breast cancer, correct?
Correct.
And Kraft did a lot for my mom's fundraiser for her second cancer, and unfortunately we lost her 5 months ago, but I appreciate all that you did do. You were a rock star through that, and he does so much for everybody in the community. I don't know how you keep up. I just don't.
I try. I do want to. So I mean, this is our first Sunday Snake Chat where we're not focused solely on snakes. Odd.
Hey, Kevin.
So we're gonna do our thing that
Jess
I normally do and say welcome to everybody that is here. Jess, Ozak, welcome. Stephen and Courtney, thanks for tuning in. Kevin from 4S Pythons, welcome. And while we were backstage, Kirsten did want me to show off the snake that Ozak is getting from me. So
hi, Jess.
Hopefully he doesn't bite me. He's pretty cool. I gotta put myself on solo dolo.
So is this one that you got from Jess, or that Jess is getting from you?
She's getting from me. She won it in through an egg giveaway.
Oh,
through
is that a pied? Is that
no? It's not.
Okay.
It is a champagne 100% het pied. He's had it 2 meals now. So this is just a het pied. So for the ball python people that are here, champagne's crazy.
So what makes them het pied? Because in dragons, pied is visual or paradigm, and those different colorations, that's usually what you'll see. So what
right
makes a
so
snake
like
pied and het pied?
In everything, like piebald is this white pattern and an absence of pattern with splashes, right? In ball pythons is a heterozygous gene, right? So you can have it on one side and it's het. If you have it on both sides, you get a visual pied.
So see, I'm not the snake person. That's what he warned y'all about in the beginning.
Right. So, I mean, you get a visual pied like this, right? So, with champagne, that gene...
Hey, Shelby. Iron Dog, Chris is on.
I threw Shelby up here. I think only in here I can see Top Chat. Anyway, so it's the champagne throws that het and makes it kind of visual in ball python. So it's kind of cool.
It's really pretty snake. That's about what I know about snakes, is that they have pretty colors, and that you usually can't breed the females until about 2 or 3.
On to 3. Sometimes 2. I don't know many people that have done it successfully in their second winter. But that's usually when you're looking to go. Pied is recess and blah, blah.
Thank
There we
you,
go.
Leviathan.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's Steven. He says it better than I do. I've got one over here and
that's pretty much
one
how you
over
said
here.
it. You just didn't use the word phenotype.
Correct.
And a lot of people hear that word and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah,
and so it's good. It's good to break it down in stupid people layman terms. For
we call things morphs, and then people are like, or genes, and then they're like, well, they're morphs, they're not really genes, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's a difference in a genetic and a morph, and then each different reptile, it's different for each different reptile and species, and so what you think about one is not the same for the other. So
right.
With snakes, y'all can safely do like one generation right of like a sister to a brother, and then after that you don't want to, or
you can do a few. It's not as bad as like mammals. But before we get into this genetic talk, all this stuff, Kirsten, please introduce yourself.
I'm just like going straight into interviewing you about snakes.
No, and I didn't even send you questions. I'm a bad host. But I'm a bad host. I didn't send you the questions. I gave you the brief overview. But
I know you were supposed to send me questions that I was going to prepare for, and I was like, "Oh gosh, there's going to be questions."
we're just flying off the hip tonight.
So now we're going to wing it.
Yeah, I do that anyway. I have a list, and then we go off topic. We're going to keep it interesting tonight. So just give everybody a brief introduction.
All right. Well,
to who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive deeper into that later.
Okay. Well, who I am, I'm Kirsten. Currently, I own Dapper Dubia LLC, but I've just applied for a new LLC, moving over into breeding bearded dragons. I started with Dubia. I actually owned dragons for a year and a half and learned how to breed Dubia before I ever decided to actually get into the breeding. So then when my mom got sick last year, we started doing the reptile hides a little bit before she got sick that my husband custom makes from PVC and then I paint. And then whenever she was sick, he invested into a couple 3D printers and started designing our own 3D prints, which got very, very backlogged, taking care of my mom. And I'm kind of getting away from that a little bit because 3D printers are a pain in the butt and they like to break a lot. So I'm going to try to just stock up a whole bunch of one certain type of bowl so that people who still want to buy them can. And I also have made a few just bowls for snakes. So hopefully I can get some of those stocked up and get them on my website. But I am moving over to dragon breeding. I actually have a gravid female right now. And my new LLC is going to be Barbed Reptiles, in honor of my mom. Her name was Barbara. And
I love that name.
And barbed, of course, spiked. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me and what's going on. I've owned reptiles for a little over 2 years now. Never thought that I would. Did not ever see myself actually enjoying them. Bearded dragons are what I stick with, what I have. My snakes have legs. And I've learned a lot about them, and they are my favorite, and they're so kind and so sweet and so interesting, and each one has their own personality, and you wouldn't think that of a reptile. Reason why I got into them was because my son wanted one. And whenever you think, right, you think you've done the research, and then you go to a pet store and you purchase a reptile. And so that's what happened. And he wound up disabled. He didn't have metabolic bone disease, but he had scoliosis and kyphosis like a human would. And he lived for 10 and a half months before I had to let him go. But he had a very special enclosure made for his disability. And he didn't start walking till he was 6 months old. But whenever he did, he came to his name, which was interesting to me. So now I can teach some of them commands. I have a few that can kiss on command. They'll tilt their head and stick their tongue out every time I say give me a kiss. So it's just interesting.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That you bring that up, because everybody is normally like, oh, lizard brain, right?
Right.
All my, gotta count 6, 7, however many lizards I have. They all have their own personalities. Like one's gonna huff up and bluff up, and then one will be like, pick me up, whatever. I'm gonna say hi.
Right. They all do. And just FYI, if y'all see me commenting, I'm on my mom's phone commenting from her profile. So if you see Barbara Lawrence, that's me. But I didn't charge my tablet, so of course I wasn't prepared.
Oh, I wasn't either. We got Tim from Intrepid Exotics, guy with
Yeah.
big stakes. Welcome,
And
Tim.
so the greatest thing about the dragons that I've learned is that they do have the different emotions. They have a capacity for them. And so they're really awesome emotional support animals, for one. I suffer from ADHD, anxiety, and depression. And it's amazing how some of mine can pick up on that. And they know just when to get up all in my neck and snuggle down and, try to keep me calm. And then I've got some who are like, don't mess with me. Just give me food. I won't bite you, but all that feeling shit, that's just not for me.
Yeah. I only have 3, but there are 2 nice ones, and my male is just like, he's gonna match my beard. And
Who wins?
He's on the floor right now, so like he's got to deal with me and the dog and whatever else is going on. He's in his palace, so getting him out is like he's grumpy, so he's always like yeah, the thing's like 8 million times the size of you, so yeah, no wonder you're grumpy. Me taking you out, but
right.
Eventually, I got to get down on his level, and he'll come out and we'll clean.
I think I have 23 now.
20. Wow. So you have more bearded dragons than I do ball pythons.
I have more bearded dragons than I do items in my house.
All right. So before we like I told you in our messages, we're gonna do this in like a couple parts. So initially you started out as Dapper Dubia. So did you start that just because there was a need for feeders for various reptiles?
Yeah, I started that because there was a need for feeders. I actually lost my job during COVID, and I, as much as I tried to get another job, did not. Every time there was an available position, someone else got selected, whatever. So at that time, I only had 3 dragons and 4 dragons, and only 2 could have possibly been used for future breeders. One we still have, one passed away. But I know there's a high need, especially for dubia roaches being a staple for a lot of reptiles. And so I made some connections. I got a mentor for breeding the dubia. I made some more connections to purchase dubia. I learned that they are just like anything else. You don't want to purchase from the same people every single time whenever you purchase.
Oh, exactly.
Because you can have
with rats for the ball python people. You want different lines, different. Right. Is that how it works? Insects? I don't know. But you want to diversify your collection.
Right. And I like to say you want to get fresh blood. And for the dubia roaches, you can actually hold them back and cleanse their system for 3 days, and then introduce them into your new colonies. And so, yeah, I just started with that. And mainly I sold the smalls like crazy. Like every couple months, I just would, do a sort. I wouldn't even let them get to medium size because people will buy up the smalls. And I just always tried to keep my prices lower than everybody else because it's freaking expensive. They're freaking expensive, man.
I know. I mean, like, I don't know how I got in when I did. Okay, never mind. I got a message from Stephen and Courtney from Leviathan. Sorry about that. So like when I got into Dubia, it was mid-pandemic, maybe, or just before.
Yeah.
And I was able to just buy a breeder group plus because I was like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of rainbow mealworms being out. I'm sick of whatever being out. Dubia feeds everything, and I can grow my own. And after a hefty investment, I have one tub up there that is just going to the point where I probably should have 2-3 more tubs because my males are not thriving.
Oh, they're attacking each other.
No, they're effing themselves to death.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing well. So I think I need but like I ran into this issue with my isopods where like I have the colony, and then they both died off. So I don't want to run into that issue with my dubia. Also, I only have a handful of lizards, so I should probably start selling these off more. So.
Well, I'm always buying dubia, and I actually don't think that I have any of your lines of dubia, so that would be good to throw in there. I have.
You do not.
I have four breeder colonies going right now, but 2 of them actually should be split into 2 because there's quite a lot in there. I'm just kind of low on space right now. I actually got shipping containers that I'm converting into my shops. So unfortunately, what was sold to me was not as advertised, and these shipping containers are in horrible condition. So I've never actually had to go through the BBB to make a complaint against a company because I even have the 2-year warranty on them or whatever. But yeah, I had to make a complaint on the company, and now I'm waiting for their response, and it's just been one thing after the other. So once those get converted, I'll move all my lizards and dubia over there, and hopefully my dubia will do a lot better because I have way too many dubia in 2 bins. So I feel you.
Rob says he wishes snakes ate roaches. He hates rats. Rob, you don't actually breed rats, so shh.
I actually just got well, I was going to say a different phrase, but let me reword that because it sounded worse in my head. I actually just got told about Reptilinks, and I went to their site and researched them and purchased those for my females that after they lay, because I really don't want to do the whole, pinky to restore calcium. I just can't. I don't have snakes for 2 reasons. They don't have legs, and I don't want to feed rats.
So Kirsten, is that like the market for Reptilinks for lizards and things like that to get that meal in after they lay their eggs and they're depleted? Because I've seen it marketed as an alternative.
Yeah, it's actually for snakes too. It's for all reptiles.
I mean, I can only see it for me for like assist feeding.
Yeah,
like,
that's what
I don't think any snake is going to readily strike a Reptilink.
They have videos on how to make them do that. So they actually have little YouTube shorts, and the videos aren't long, and they're just little trainer videos on how to get them to strike the actual link itself. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about snakes. So y'all don't yell at me in the comments if y'all are totally opposed to that. I was just throwing it out there.
We don't know anything about bearded dragons that much, so or dubia roaches because snakes don't eat them.
Most the snakes we have don't about them.
Oh, I have them.
And you breed them successfully.
Yes, we are on generation I don't know, 3rd year or something like that of the cycling through. But I need a second tub. Every time I go in there's so many males and whatever desiccated. It's just.
Well, if you need to ship some males off, I definitely always need males.
All right. We'll link up
all the males that I get decide to be assholes and they attack each other, and then anytime they have the fucked up wings, I'm like, all right, well, I'm getting your ass out of there. So
Yeah, lately for me, it's been okay. We'll clean you
yeah,
every so often. Throw in food every time. The scraps from the when I'm cooking and whatever else supplements they need, and just let it go and then clean it. Let it go, clean it.
yeah, yep. Tammy said Reptilinks are spendy. Yeah, they are pricey, but the good thing is that they last in the freezer. Again, I don't know what size or how many you would need to supplement a snake. For myself, since they're so high in protein, I don't have to feed them often.
It's the size of a pinky, right?
Huh?
At least for bearded dragons, like the size of a pinky.
Well, I've never seen a pinky like actually in real life, but they're pretty big. I mean, the ones that I got are probably about yay long, and they're pretty wide. I actually split it in half to feed because there's no way that I would let them choke that down. But some dragons that I had that got stressed out. I had a set of 4 babies together, and whenever the males got to the point where they were like, all right, we're done, we're ready for our own enclosure, and they freaked the females out, and so then those females went through a higher coccidia level. They don't want to eat, and so whenever the reptilinks came in, I actually just busted open the intestine or whatever it is that they use that it's in. And I just put it right in front of their face, and they gobbled it down real quick, and it restored them, and they no longer looked, I don't want to say malnourished because they weren't malnourished, but just depleted, you know. And then the next day they were eating again, even through their treatment for the coccidia. And then I gave it to my female just as like right after their everyone says a lock, but my mentor is Dragon Tales Tammy. She's been in this for 20 plus years. Her dad 20 plus years before that, and she calls it a cover. So whenever they link up, it's called a cover. So anyway, gave it to her right before that, and it just to give her that extra boost, and it did. And she's doing great through. She's still not laid yet. We're going on the 4th week, but I can feel all of her eggs. I can see them and everything. And she's starting to refuse food now, which is signs that she's going to be getting ready to lay. So I've got the big box ready to go. What's going to kill me is the wait for the eggs to hatch, because I did what a few breeders that I know that are really good friends, they call the ultimate gamble. And my first pairing was to prove out hets.
Okay. We know all about that in the ball python community, right?
Right.
Gambles. So actually, like we were talking about backstage about how ball python people talk about genetics one way and in dragons is different. So when you're proving out hets and bearded dragons, there's only a handful of genetics that are heter hets, right? The translucent, whiplet, like that type of thing. Can you go on to explain, those genetics as compared to line breeding of colors?
Okay, so whiplet, actually, I actually am still learning about whiplet, but what I did just learn recently, Here Be Dragons, their website, they have great information on genetics and morphology, genetics, recessive, hetero, all that good stuff. Anyway, so I thought that zeros came before whiplets, but apparently whiplets came before zeros. I know that with the whiplet, it can be visual, it can be het. You don't want to breed a visual wit to a het wit. Same with zeros. If you see somebody who has zeros and say the whole clutch is pretty much zeros, you know that they did a 0 to a het. And so that's unethical. And from what I've seen looking at different breeders, they have a lot of deformities. They look like they have a duck mouth or really short snout or almost no neck, like different things with the zeros, right? So the zeros and the wits are 2 things that people are still experimenting with. And I get it. Whenever we're doing any of this, we're learning. and
I
we
got
have to do our trials, as with y'all, as with any reptile. You have to do your trials to learn. If you don't, you're not going to learn. But you don't need to do it on purpose and then sell those babies for $600. That's just ridiculous. I believe in running the trials, doing your T tables, but don't hatch out full clutches. Hatch out the first few eggs from the first clutch, see what happens, go from there, run your trials. But be prepared to pet home, or be prepared to let them go if there are extreme deformities. That's going more into the learning thing. So of course, just like y'all, we have recessives, visuals, pets, whatever. Which one specifically are you wanting to know about?
So, I mean, like for me, I know hypotranslucent, like that sort of stuff. I know that leatherback. We can talk about that later, but you brought up Whiplet and Zero, and I guess Wiro as well in that. So, I mean, a visual to visual, like 0 to 0, is bad.
Yeah.
So you want to breed a visual Wiro, Zero, Whiplet to a het.
No, you want to breed head to head.
Head to head.
Head
So
to
you want to produce that visual. Then what do you do with that visual once you produce it? I mean, throw it everywhere to make heads?
Different people are doing different projects with them. So if you breed a visual to a non-het, you're going to get those hets.
Right.
That 66 pos, that 50 pos, what have you. A lot of breeders don't even, in the dragon world, a lot of breeders, they don't even mess with the 66 or the 50, because it's like, what is 16%?
Right.
You're still going to have to prove it out. If it's not 100%, then it's possible. That's obviously what I'm doing right now. And then a Wiro is a Whiplet and a Zero, but I'm not focusing on the Wiros. I'm trying to prove out Whiplet and Zero more. I'm trying to prove out Zero, but they carry the het for the Whiplet. So if that comes, then that comes. It's great. I have 100% het wit, who is a high visually colored red, and no color is not. There's a lot of back and forth with color, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like color, from my understanding, is a line, right?
That's what people say. That's what people say, but my whole thing with it is, okay, so if it's not genetic, right? You're not gonna. It's not genetic, but in a way, right? It kind
is.
of is. So yeah, so like just like us, if we're a certain color, we're going to produce a certain color. If we get mixed with another color, we're going to produce that color of which those two mixtures are, right? So if I put a let's say a red visual with a white, a Zero, then I'm going to have like a really nice creamsicle orange.
That would make sense.
So a lot of people are breeding for color. I'm not breeding for color. The color is plus. The color is a plus. I am breeding for the genetics, for the structure. I look at their structure. I look at their yeah, we're talking beardies now.
Yeah. We were talking about we were feeding them. Now we're talking.
And a lot of people, that's the problem. They go into, they're like, oh my God, yeah, the color. Like, I want to look at the color, right? I want the color, I want the high color. Well, sometimes the color comes later. If they are the, Lord have mercy. Sorry, give me just a second. You take my face off the big screen for a second.
Oh, I like having you on the big screen. That means I'm not here.
It makes me so anxious.
Jeremy, they're not just dogs, they're food.
Yeah, so if it's a visual hypo, a lot of those, their colors change as they shed.
Oh, yeah. I have a visual. I might have two. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, I bought some, and then they turned out to be, like, better than what I bought them as. Like, I have a translucent, that I bought as a nice red dragon with and turns out it's translucent. You know, you can tell by the eyes. So dragons are weird like that. Yeah.
Dragons are weird like that. So the hypogene, hypomelanistic, a
It's
lack
the
of melanin, a lack of melanin.
right. So
Yeah.
that's a whiter animal.
That's gonna make those colors pop. If they aren't, they're gonna be darker, you know. And I don't even ask me about the red monsters. I'm not into the red monsters. I don't know about the red monsters because there's a whole big thing going on about the red monsters and the hypo and the head and all that crap. I don't even know. But I have a translucent that I got just kind of like you. I got him, but I purchased him. The person that I purchased him from, they call him Pied. I mean, they call him Paradigms. Then they have other breeders who produce them who call them Pied. They are not like the Paradox. Their splotches are very uniform and usually all the same color. Whenever I got him, he was lemon yellow. I was like, yes, I love it. All of his colors were lemon yellow. I'll be damned if he didn't turn orange.
Yeah.
Like so orange, and he's visually translucent. And I was like,
the cat is going off about bugs.
I was like, great, but he still has some green in him, so I'm hoping that I can bring that yellow back out in his future lineage and get it to stick. But it's all, you know, a gamble. So,
yeah, like I said, like I had a banger, and I know I've told you about him. I gotta get this right. A Belgian blood, Collie Red, Hypo Het Trans Leatherback, Paradox from Daishu. That was my male that I was coming into this with. And I got so excited about that and not realizing, you know, how genetics work really. And I had my male.
that one that you just that whole mouthful that you just said, that's your male?
That was my male. He unfortunately went into brumation his first year, you know, going into breeding and died. I did not force that. He just did it and didn't come back out.
Yeah, it's natural to them. He's in brumation right now.
No, nobody is. He's the only one that ever went into brumation. He just didn't come out, and that was like 2 years ago. But I had purchased 2 females that were, you know, hypo, trans, and whatever, you know, that were complementary to him because I had the big old male that I have. It's like 2 pounds right now. He turned out to be a male. I thought it was a female when I bought him, and it screwed up my whole plans. And then my sire male died. So yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. That really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it stinks, but at the same time, it's like 40 babies. I mean, for me, like taking care of like a lot of small bearded dragons, that's a lot of work, a lot of dubious. Like I don't have the
a lot of
multiple
types of feeders. Yeah.
Yeah, it that would have been too much to have to do that. So I'm just growing these up. They're going to a buddy, and he can deal with that.
And I've heard you say Belgium a couple of times. So I actually learned, and a lot of people know them as German giants, and that's false because it's the Belgium, the man who this came from, right? They're a larger type of dragon. Okay. He's from Belgium.
I'm putting you on solo so you can dispel this.
No,
my dragon is special.
Stop putting me on solo. Oh my gosh, it gives me so much
anxiety. Show. Come on, Kirsten.
So he said he has a Belgian, or he had a Belgium from Daishu. Daishu, they have a lot of amazing information on their website. A lot of people you hear in the community who don't know anything, or maybe they know a lot, but they still don't know this little tidbit of information. German giants is what they would call them. And then they say German giants, they're extinct. They're, you know, they've been bred out. They've this, that, or the other, whatever. So the person who created he's Belgium. He's not from Germany. And so whenever he would hear this, I guess it would piss him off. And I have his name in my notes on my phone somewhere. And of course I don't remember his name, but Daishu's obviously doing it right, is what I'm saying. So
yes, that's where I got
Belgium.
my dragon from. If you're in Pennsylvania and you're looking to get bearded dragons, go to them.
Yes. And Daishu, along with a lot of other breeders, I mean, like I said, here be dragons. You can go to their website. You can read about their little breakdown, and they talk about the translucent gene, and you'll hear not to breed translucent to translucent. And well, Daishu and here be dragons, they'll disagree. They'll say that some of the strongest dragons can be produced in the translucent line. They've done their own studies and their own, tea tables, what have you, and they've found that they're actually some of the strongest dragons. Now, it's with any genetic, if you're gonna breed it,
you're gonna run a line breeding issue. Holy
yeah. Or if you're getting dragons that are too closely related because not enough people ask enough questions. Anytime I purchase a dragon, even if you're not going to show me the pictures of the parents, right? Because that is that's their life's work. A lot of
oh, come on.
About half the breeders are not going to show you parent pictures. Like, that's not something that I would want to do, because then you're giving your secret recipe away, basically.
So yeah, I mean, in dragons, I guess that makes sense because there's so many of the, color lines going on. But I know the parents of like my ones from Gnarly, Dozer and somebody else. I mean, they're half siblings, but they're far apart genetic wise, aside from the Whiplet and the,
So you have half siblings. You're not breeding them together, are you?
No.
Because I was about to get
they're both females. They're both females going to a Daishu, whatever my buddy has. That works with the heads. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't have the nice male for these heads or visuals, so I'm making like quad heads with my male here in ball python speak. Yeah, that's great, but it's all possible, and who wants a normal bearded dragon that could be great?
And see, I love the natural look. I do. I have bearded dragons that look like nothing to anybody else, but I know what they carry.
Right.
And if I don't know what they carry,
if you're working on your collection, that's one thing. But like that's what I have to sell here. So.
And that's what I hate, is that there's so many people who have made color the thing to pay attention to, and a lot of these colors, they're not naturally occurring in the wild. So to get these colors, you're having to do things through the back door that you shouldn't be doing, that you're not releasing that you're doing. And that's why things like the red monsters, they have a lot of health issues. And then you have ones who have said, they've outbred their red monsters so much that they can breed monster to monster now. And that's just, do you know how long it would take to outbreed a weak genetic? How many generations, if it could even be done?
I mean, for me, the only one I knew about the Wiro Whiplet, that complex, like where head to head was better. But the one I know mostly, because I almost did it, was Leatherback, because I had hats and a visual Leatherback, and like that. I could have made really nice dragons, right?
Right.
But I had that unfortunate side effect of making silkies.
Oh, you produce silkies.
Super Leatherback, which is a smooth dragon.
Well, a super Leatherback is different than a silkback.
I'm thinking of the one where it's not natural. Like I have to have it in like a paper towel humid environment rather than
a silkback. Absolutely no scales. No scales.
Right.
Yeah. That's already been, that was an accidental thing. Is that what you said? You
Yeah,
produced?
I mean, if I could have made them. Unfortunately for me, that whole thing didn't work out. So I didn't actually have to deal with that. But that's one thing. It's like it's a byproduct of trying to like chase something.
And see, silkbacks are very unethical. So when we're talking about bearded dragons and we're talking about genetics, so you have your, I like to say your scalation. I know that's not an actual word. Scalation genetics, and then you have your other genetics, everything, the whiplet, the zero, the citrus, the whatever, right? So I've just recently learned that there's a recessive form of a leatherback that, when bred, creates that recessive form of leatherback. I don't know enough about it to know which one is which, but just recently learned that. So a silkback is created when the leatherback to leatherback that is not safe to breed together are bred together, and it creates absolutely no scales. So with a normal scale, of course you have scales all over their body. With a leatherback, you still have a scale. You don't have a raised scale. You have a rough exterior on their back, smooth but still protective layer from
right, and they have that a little bit around their rib cage.
Yeah, and
little pointies.
Their beards, their head, what have you. Silkbacks have absolutely no scales, no protection, so they can't even be housed with other dragons or with any items that could potentially cut them, because then their skin cuts easily. They're at a higher risk for cancers, higher risk for their skin drying out and cracking, the cuts, the infections, I mean, just everything that goes along with it. Breeders have already learned this. They've already done these trials. It was unintentional. Whenever it happened the first time, they held it back. They watched it. They kept it alone, and they learned this is a no. Don't do this. Why we still have breeders that are doing that in the dragon community absolutely blows my mind. Whenever you have your mentors, even if they're not deemed your mentors, whenever you have those that come before you that have been doing this for decades, if they're not teaching you specifically, why aren't you learning from them on what the information that they put out? Why are you going to say, well, I wanted to do it myself because
you want to try the same thing a different way?
Try the same thing, and there is no different way. I mean, you're going to produce, it was a huge thing that happened recently. But you're going to produce silkbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I was alluding to that with that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's insane that people are like, that is, if there's any animal I don't want to breed or, have a pairing to make, it is, a silky bearded dragon and a hairless rat. As cute as the hairless rats are with their mustaches, it's not good. I mean, they're bad moms. I mean, yeah, I want to avoid that stuff. Yeah, I get ball python people come at me. I work with spider and champagne.
Come at me.
Not together. So
come at me, bro.
My champagnes right now babies do not have wobble. So.
Right. And so, let's see. The silkback is the leatherback mutation. So leatherback mutations, you can have one that is one that is homozygous, one that is heterozygous. So on Here Be Dragon's website, they say that the silkback,
that you can have, there's two different ones.
Right. I just recently learned about this. That's why I said I don't know which one.
I just learned about it now.
Their websites to be able to tell you all.
The internet.
Right. A dragon that inherits a co-dominant leatherback form from both his parents is homozygous. It's called a silkback. So whenever it's that co-dominant leatherback form. So whenever it's not the heterozygous, that's whenever you create the silkback. Whenever it's the heterozygous, that's whenever you create that. They have all kinds of different terms for it. The microscale dragons. And then I've heard phrases get thrown out there like American leatherback, Italian leatherback, all that different stuff. That it's kind of just like the striping, right? They're going to put their different coin on it to be able to sell it as something different.
Right.
Yeah.
So from what it seems is there's some ways that it works, but you need to know the genetics of your animal.
Yeah.
Make it work properly. Exactly
right. And that's what I think the problem is with a lot of people who are getting into this, because they're getting into it going, oh, I can do this. This is easy, right? Easy money.
No,
it's not. And they're getting into it for the money. They're not doing their research is where they're getting their animals, because we have a small pool. We have a small
dragons pool. I mean, you have a couple places they originate from, and you can go from the wild or bring them from people that have gotten them here, like Daishu, Gnarly. I don't know that many big dragon breeders off
Dragon Tails, Tammy, hatched at Hillman's, JK dragons, upscales dragons. Those are, like you said, Daishu. Those are some. Kevin Dunn, who formed the Dunner. Who I actually don't have any Dunners in my colony. Dunners are one that I just haven't pulled the trigger on yet. I have a very, very good span of different types of dragons. Dunner is not one of them. Again, that goes over to the scale pattern. Okay. So, Dunners I do know Dunners are known for holding their food in their beard, and the babies especially will regurgitate what they hold in their beard as they get older. It tends to not be such an issue with them. I don't have experience firsthand with them, but they do create. I mean, they are beautiful. They have beautiful Dunner creations out there. They do. One thing that I really want to focus on is the genetic striping, because you have your color stripes and you have your
I forgot that we share something with the ball python community, a genetic stripe.
Right. The genetic stripe, a dominant mutation, right? Yep. And you have people who have color stripes, and there are some people who try to coin on that, try to make it a price tag, and put this high price on something that's just it's a color stripe, so it's not a dominant mutation.
Right. So it's just something that happens. You can breed it to happen. Like purple paradox is, well, at least paradox in ball pythons is an anomaly.
I have quite a few paradoxes.
Is it genetic in bearded dragons?
I believe, just like we were talking earlier, I've talked to quite a few different people. I've talked to my my herpetologist. He's been doing this for 22 years. Whenever I first brought up paradox, and whenever I was first learning about all this, and I brought up paradox, because I have the paradigm, which is different than the paradox. Paradigm can be recreated. And you'll hear the paradox cannot be recreated. And my vet immediately went, everything can be recreated. It's just knowing how. It's not just an anomaly that happens. So it's a secret recipe that you have to learn, right? And
I agree that this combo to that combo, and it's going to throw out a red bearded dragon with a purple splotch on this right side every time.
Or you hope so, right? And so then that's going back to actually what you just said, the purple paradox. So on Here Be Dragons website, paradox dragons can be any color. Some breeders refer to them as purple paradox. Throwing the word purple into the name is just a trick to make them sound more interesting. Paradoxes don't need any tricks. They don't need any tricks to make them sound more interesting because they're already the coolest dragon out there, right? It looks like someone took a can of paint and just threw it on the dragon. Like,
right?
It can be purple, it can be blue, it can be white, it can be whatever. It's a lack of melanin, and in some of them, and or at least I think whenever I see that white that it would be a lack of melanin in some of them. I have some that have blue, I have some that have white, I have some that have purple, blue, white, red. I mean, I have 3 visual paradoxes.
We all have black paradox, right?
Huh?
All my snakes with paradoxing, they're all champagne. They all have like a black splotch, or the one pie looking thing has a white lip. But
so this is actually one from Here Be Dragons, and it is black paradox.
Okay, is that it? Looks like a translucent as well, but I can't see.
Well,
not well.
So that's what he says on here. That's what I was trying to get to. About what he said about the translucent. So give me just a second. It's not entirely understood, the trait, right? Because it's not caused by one single genetic mutation. So again, it's figuring out what mutations throw it. And no one has quite seemed to understand it, or at least that's what people are making us think. But it is closely linked to the translucent gene, exactly what you said. So there's a whole history behind the translucent gene to give rise to the paradox dragons. The paradox dragons now are
makes sense.
Het trans.
What I had, one being het trans that had the paradoxing. I don't know if this one does, is visual trans.
Yeah. See, I have one that's het trans, and he's visual paradox, but he's very low expression. He only has a couple of spots on him. You wouldn't know it if you first looked at him. You wouldn't know it if you sat there and stared at him for 5 minutes if you didn't know you were looking at.
Yeah, I mean, this one over here, I was like, hey, gnarly, thank you. It's a great dragon, but you should charge me about $75 more for her. Based on what I'm seeing now. And I get it. We all screw up from time to time identifying things. I mean, a baby, little tiny bearded dragon, you might not be able to see what would show as translucent. When I got her here, all black eyes, very blue. So
you gonna pull it out?
Yeah, I can pull her out. I mean, if she's gonna let me. Lights are still on here, so.
Yeah, I do a 6-to-6 thing here, so. All right, you go on the big screen now.
Oh, I gotta go on big screen.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. Your turn.
Switch, and it puts me up. So here's my translucent girl.
Where'd you get her from?
Gnarly Dragons.
And I'm not even gonna pretend like I heard of them.
They're out in, I think, California. That's where I got my hypo 100% het whitblit pos het zero. She's also het whitblit, but she's really tiny for her age. So I'm like concerned, but I'm not concerned because she's still, here with me.
Can you turn her back to us and then kind of put her head up?
I mean, I got it.
There you go. She's got very large eye sockets.
She's really tiny, though. I mean, she's missing the head, the little bumps here, because she doesn't like to eat. But I got her because she was really red. Like, she's much more red. And there she goes.
How old is she?
I think she's 2. I got her during the pandemic.
2? Oh wow, yeah, she's
really tiny. Her half sibling is like double the size.
And you're keeping her as pet only?
Right now, yes.
Yeah, she's. I wouldn't breed her.
She's tiny. If she grows up to size, maybe my buddy will do that. the other one is a few grams off, from being ready.
So, with bearded dragons, a lot of the times people stop breeding their females around the age of 3. So they start them at like 1, and stop them around 3.
It's interesting.
Um,
With ball pythons, we start breeding around 3.
Yeah, that's the difference. So they live for 10 years, about 10, sometimes 15 if they're a good strong genetic, 20. But if she's not already of size, I wouldn't count on her too.
It might be just all the combos of the genetics and whatnot's going on with her, and she's saving them all. I don't know. But she's still a really cool dragon, really friendly.
Yeah, she's.
So I'm not. If the 3 of them are going to be here as pets, I have no problem with that, because I have all their food, and then every so often I'll run over and get them some variety. Right.
Yeah, it would be nice if all female balls could be bred at 3. LOL.
Yeah, sometimes at 3, sometimes at 5, sometimes never.
I was just talking about this actually with a friend, a breeder friend of mine, about the whole dragons and what age to breed and this, that, and the other. And
so it's really 1 year old.
That's the controversy that you get in the community.
Or you like 2, 3, and then you're done.
You have breeders who will say not to breed until 18 months old. But they're starting at 10 months old, if they're of size. I wouldn't breed a female at 10 months old. I wait.
What's the size, the grams, the weight of the bearded dragon that year?
So size also goes in correlation with their length as well. So it's different for each one. I have the female that is gravid right now. She is about 16 inches long. She's not very long. And she was 370 grams whenever I paired her. I wouldn't do under 370, 380. I have one female who is 18 and a half, almost 19 inches long, and she's 500 grams. So you have to look, you have to look at each one individually, but I get, you get your babies, right? You don't ever know who's going to be a breeder or who is not going to be a breeder until you get them up in size some. So for me, pretty much around right now, with the limited space that I have, if around 5-6 months they're not at what I consider a proper size, if I put one next to the other and I'm like, oh wow, okay, y'all are the same age, and I have 3 females next to you that are way more big than you, like way bigger. I have one that is like about 6 months old, and she's 110 grams, and she's really short. And so, unfortunately, I'm gonna post her for sale and pet home her, because I don't have the space right now. But I wouldn't do under 370, 380 grams for a female.
It's interesting, because like ball pythons, like 500 gram male, that's the minimum. Don't ever do that. 1200 with the female ball pythons, they're going to tell you when they're ready. Their bull wrap do that thing. So I mean, I never thought it was that tiny with bearded dragons, but then I guess I'm looking at snakes and taking that mindset and bringing it over there.
Right. Snakes are way different. That's what my friend was talking about. That one breeder said that they would wait until 24 months old, and she's like, 24 months, like that's insane. Okay, because by 3, for myself, I would usually get ready to I would usually get ready to retire them.
So, I honestly my guys and girls aren't even good anymore. They're all pets. On that logic, which isn't bad.
And so the males, are they the same as the females?
The male is like 4 years old now. He's old.
Like, I mean, as far as when you can breed them.
For ball pythons?
Yeah.
So ball pythons, usually the males, you can start breeding if they're up to size when they're a year old. You know, their first winter or so. So if I have a 2021 Ultra Male Pinstripe that I'm breeding this year as a male. He's 500 plus grams. He's going to my 1400 gram pine. So the females, I don't want to put a number out there. They're going to be old enough, they're going to be big enough, or they're going to be ready. If they have two of those three things, you're good. They're going to let you know.
So how do you know? How do you know whenever a ball python is ready?
So generally, this time of year, they'll start to hug their water bowl. They'll go off the heat and go to cool down, right? That's some evidence of that.
That's interesting. With bearded dragons, I've noticed that whenever my females are ovulating, they go crazy up and down the tank.
Yeah, and like when they're about to lay, Jeremy says they'll do gymnastics for ball pythons. They're just all kind of a little bit crazy, and then they'll calm down, go on the heat, and lay. Because you have a snake this big trying to lay a bunch of eggs through a hole that's that big. Yeah, and like bearded dragons do a number.
That sounds a lot like humans. You have an egg this big coming out of a hole this big. So someone had asked how often can you breed a bearded dragon. That's not a question that I feel comfortable answering yet, because I've seen breeders do different things. I hear once a season.
But in that once a season, they'll lay multiple clutches, correct?
Yeah, so bearded dragons.
Or they can.
Yeah, they can hold sperm, and they can lay. Usually 4 clutches is about what you're going to get, but I've heard of dragons doing 5 and 6 clutches, and that's a lot.
It's insane.
That's a lot, and that's some. I've heard of some dragons laying their eggs after 2 weeks of being paired. I have one that's 4 weeks so far, and I still don't have anything. Sometimes they can go up to 6 weeks. So I guess it all depends on the dragon, but it's the multiple clutches, so once a season, really.
Okay, that one, that comment is a little funny.
What?
CRM Reptiles comment is funny.
I'd be in trouble. Oh, right. Yeah. See, dragons can retain sperm too. That's crazy to me. It's like you just hold on to it, and then whenever I'm ready, I'm going to make something with this.
I mean, there's some that is like with Komodo dragons, a female Komodo dragon can have a partho clutch of males, right?
A what?
A parthenogenic, right? So she can clone herself, throw off a male. So if she wanders to another island or whatever where there's no Komodo dragons, she's going to have a son that she can repopulate with.
I know nothing about Komodo dragons.
I learned that the other day from something I watched, Clint's Reptiles or something.
That is really.
He was talking about like genetics and that sort of thing. So I thought that was interesting how her genetics work. That she only threw a partho male, to sustain.
That's really cool. So when are you going to start breeding Komodo dragons?
When they're no longer endangered and I won't get arrested for importing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Do it very sneakily. Okay.
It's the size of me. It can eat my dog. I don't think I'll get into that. But Kirsten, I thank you so much for coming on here. I know we kind of flew by the seat of our pants, but I feel like my ball python people got a lot of new knowledge about other species. Bearded dragons and dubia roaches. It's nice to change things up for once. We're talking about ball pythons here ad nauseum. It's like, look at how this one has a spot here, or how the alien heads dip down here, and that means that. I mean, it gets old after a while. So I really, really appreciate you coming on here. Unfortunately, we are coming close to where I have my end of my show, and I have to send everybody over to Jeremy Warfels. And this week I will be nice and actually get his
This week I will be nice.
link up here, because I forgot last week because I was talking to Kai so much.
So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Again, like I said in the beginning, you've been a good friend for a little over a year now, and everything that you did to help me in the last year, and just being there, and it just meant the world to me. So I appreciate it. It's nice to have the in touch with the other side of the community, you know, that you got snake people and you got your dragon people.
and hold on, before I sign off, the one last thing I want to do is I'm going to go grab the shirt that you gave me.
Yeah, it only took me like 7 months to get that to you.
And it's black. It's the pinkest of the pinkest shirt, and I will sign off on this. It is October, right? So it's Cancer Awareness Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So go support anything you can. Wear pink all month.
Which both of our mamas were survivors of
breast cancer. So I mean, you know, go out, donate, go do your thing for this month. I'm gonna rock that shirt.
Well, I appreciate it.
I'm probably sleeping it tonight, honestly.
Whenever you get your new shirt placed, let me know.
We'll do. But I thank you. And it's always, you know, for me, I love coming on here. It's, you know, Sunday, my Cowboys played. I didn't get to see them actually win, so they did. So go Cowboys.
That's because they suck.
Hey, what, 4-1 now? All right. So we're gonna go end this. Kirsten,
you might win a Super Bowl this year, maybe.
They might win another one in my lifetime. I don't know. They have 3. But anyway, enough football. You guys got to go over and check out Jeremy Warfel. He's on with John and Christina from Triforce Morse. They're from Pennsylvania as well, and they have a bunch of heat. So, Kirsten, if you want to stay backstage for a bit after.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, y'all.
Figure out how to do this. We're going to do this. Here we go. And click again. Here we go.